to me. Hey, this is Wednesday, April 29th. We're almost into May, which is crazy. Regular class, getting farther into Outsiders. We're going to be reading Chapter 5, talking a little bit about Chapter 4 here in just a moment. 1 second, I got to do a thing. Chat went to there. And then hang on 1 second, and then to there. And there. All right, and then all right, and then to me. Sorry, I had to stop people from spamming into chat. I think I covered it from there. Let's see. For me, we're going to get into Outsiders. I'm going to read through Chapter 5. I have good news and bad news as we get a bit farther into it in a moment. Let me go over to the actual stuff for today. Screen share over to there. All right. So as I'm going through and doing and talking and stuff like that, I can still see chat. So if you have questions on chat, you're more than welcome to fire them at me. Also, I can also see most of your videos. So just let you know if you get too overly distracting with your videos and stuff like that, I will definitely let you know. If you have questions, you can fire them at me. I'm going to do my best to try and help you out. Skyward has not been updated. It's been graded. I went through and graded all of the quizzes that were turned in, but they have not been updated because my printer died. And so I've run out of pages in my grade books. I went to go print new pages yesterday, and my printer went, bleh, and it just died on me. So I was going to go get a new printer, but apparently these things called stores don't let you go in all the time, so it became a big pain. So I'm going to go get a new printer today, which means I can write down the grades. So long story short, and less babbling, I will have your grades updated or your stuff updated today once I get a chance to go out to Staples and get a new printer as soon as this Zoom is done. So we'll be on there soon. So Skyward has not been updated. I apologize. Good Zoom etiquette. I've already started banning some of you guys in chat who start randomly babbling and posting stuff on there, so make good choices. Any work from previous weeks you can still turn in. It just becomes a late grade, but it's better than no grade at all. And then Outsiders Chapter 4 quiz. If you've not done that, you're going to want to because, again, it is still open. You can still go in there and do it, and that's absolutely fine with me. I'll give you guys the information to get back to it here in just a second. Late work. If you have late work that you are needing to turn in, that is absolutely fine with me. Here's the thing. A lot of you have your parents contact me because you're not turning stuff in. Whenever you do that, I contact your parents and I tell them to make fun of you. I go, hey, your kid is a lazy big pile of pooey because it's right there on the directions for the website. You should go yell at your child and take away their phone for a day because they're not going and looking it up. So if you don't want me to tell your parents to torture you, make sure you actually go look this stuff up on the website. This is like the very first thing on there. So just trying to prevent you guys from getting harassed by your parents, because if your parent contacts me, I tell them to take your phone and torture you. Today, we're going to read Chapter 5, tomorrow, Chapter 6. Here's where part of the bad news comes into you. Hang on a second. And then there. I think that does it. Let's see if that changes it. You're going to have to read Chapter 7 and 8 on your own. I'm going to read 5 and 6 with you, but then we have a quiz coming up a week from yesterday. So next Tuesday, which is going to cover Chapter 8, which means you're going to have to read Chapters 7 and 8 with your own brain. Good news is I do have audiobooks on my website, so you can do that. It's not my voice, and you're not going to have the pictures as much, but you're going to have the quiz coming up on next Tuesday. I'll answer questions next Tuesday, but at some point you do have to do some reading on your own. Not much. I'm only going to make you read like 4 chapters. I think 7 and 8, and then like 11 and 12 will make you read on your own, which are fairly short chapters with fun things that happen, but I have to make you do some reading. Outsiders quiz. If you have not taken it yet, it is still open. I will grade that and get those updated today. It is in the room name Out Quiz. It is 12 questions. I think 7 of them were short answer, 5 of them were multiple choice. And I will have anyone who has taken it, I will have that updated to Skyward today. Here is today's. If you are wanting to, you are more than welcome to go in there and screenshot it right now before you forget. I will also put it at the very end so you can see it again, but if you are not wanting to forget about it, to help you out. So room name is WED 429 for Wednesday 429. Today's question is just the one. In your opinion, would either Johnny or Ponyboy make a good friend for you? You might want to wait till we get done reading today because you're going to find out a lot more about them. But by the end of today, would you say that either one would make a good friend? Pick either one, Johnny or Ponyboy, and then tell me why or why not on them making a good friend. Johnny, good friend. Ponyboy, not good friend. What is it about them that you see one way or the other? That's what I'm looking for you for today, because we're going to find out a lot more about them because they're hiding out at the church and sort of what you think about them as people. All right, now into us doing the reading thing. So chapter 4, we got past Bob has been stabbed. They've now run away. They're hiding out in Windricksville. They're going to hide out there until the other greasers come for them. They're waiting to find out what's going to happen because of the whole killing Bob and stabbing him and stuff like that, and what happens from there. Let's see. Let's go. It's Outsiders time. Drive-in restaurant. Oh, no, drive-in movie theater. That's what I wanted. So again, we had the drive-in movie theater. They met the Soch girls and they walked them home. And that's when they got stopped by the other Soch boys on the way home. And they got ready because they're driving the blue Mustang. And we find out they do know the blue Mustang because the blue Mustang is going to be the ones that Bob and Randy drive, the same ones who beat up Johnny earlier in the book. They're the ones who stopped them on the way home. And so this blue Mustang pops up multiple times throughout the book, being connected to those hoodlums. The busted bottle, the whole stabby thing and stuff like that. And so that's where we're going to have that coming in. Fountain in the park. There we go. This is where Ponyboy was getting drowned. And then Johnny pulls out the knife and does the whole stabby thing. And so that was the thing from last week where I used my daughter's knife to sort of show you guys how it works. And then we have Johnny, who's wearing the blue jeans jacket. I think Ponyboy is wearing one now too, because he got the blue jeans jacket from Dally when he went to go talk to him. And so now they're hiding out in Windricksville. I get to start on page 68, which is the beginning of chapter 5. I'll read all of chapter 5 with you. And then tomorrow we're going to start on chapter 6. Again, if you want to tap out after a while, you're more than welcome to, but I will read the entire chapter for you. And I have a whole bunch of pictures and stuff like that to try and help you out and things like that. So on page 68, here's again the picture of the church where they are hiding out church-wise. To give you an idea of the things going on from there. And then also, since I can see a whole bunch of your faces, double check to make sure I have this set up correctly. You should be able to see the church right now, and you can also see my face also. Is that correct? By like thumbs up or not? Yay, looking for heads going up. And all right, making sure. That way you guys can see me if I need. I can take back out so it makes we're good to go. All right, yeah. Chapter 5. I woke up late in the afternoon. For a second, I didn't know where I was. You know how it is when you wake up in a strange place and wonder where in the world you are until memory comes rushing over you like a wave. I'd half convinced myself that I dreamed everything that had happened the night before, that I'm really home in bed, I thought. It's late and both Derry and Soda Pop are up. Derry's cooking breakfast, and in a minute, he and Soda will come in and drag me out of bed and wrestle me down and tickle me until I think I'll die if they don't stop. It's me and Soda's turn to do the dishes after we eat, and then we'll all go outside and play football. Johnny and Two-Bit and I will get Derry on our side since Johnny and I are so small and Derry's the best player. It'll go like the usual weekend morning. I tried telling myself that while I lay on the cold rock floor, wrapped up in Dally's jacket and listening to the wind rushing through the trees' dry leaves outside. Finally, I quit pretending and pushed myself up. I was stiff and sore from sleeping on that hard floor, but I'd never slept so soundly. I was still groggy. I pushed off Johnny's jeans jacket, which had somehow gotten thrown across me, and blinked, scratching my head. Real quick. On the off chance you do have questions, I can see your hands and stuff like that. So if they do pop up and you have a question, just let me know, and I'm more than happy to help you out with that too. And I suddenly realized that Johnny wasn't there next to me. Johnny, I called loudly, and that old wooden church echoed me. Honey, 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 honey. I looked around wildly, almost panic-stricken, but then caught sight of some crooked lettering written in the dust of the floor. Went to get supplies. Be back soon, JC. All right, so quick timeout here. One of the many reasons why I hate Zoom is that I don't get to have conversations with you. I don't get to talk. Which one of the main things I like about teaching is actually talking to you guys because you're like smart people. And here's the fact where I get to ask you, who's JC? Hopefully you realize that JC is Johnny Cade. Cade is his last name. But it always entertains me because almost every year when reading this, and I have that be back soon, JC, I have a kid who gets freaked out and thinks it's Jesus Christ. And they're like, wait a minute, Jesus just wrote them a message? And then every year it makes me giggle. But here, I don't get to have you guys being like, Mr. Broviac, did Jesus just write him a note? I mean, they are in a church, and I know that is where Jesus talks to you. But I don't think that's who it is talking this time. I believe it is Johnny Cade, not that Jesus fella. I sighed and went back to the pump to get a drink. The water from it was like liquid ice, and it tasted funny, but it was water. I splashed some on my face, and that woke up pretty quick. I wiped my face off on Johnny's jacket and sat down on the back steps. The hill the church was on dropped off suddenly about 20 feet from the back door, and you could see for miles and miles. It was like sitting on the top of the world. Hang on a second, I gotta do. When you haven't got anything to do, you remember things in spite of yourself. I could remember every detail of the whole night, but it had the unreal quality of a dream. And it seemed much longer than 24 hours since Johnny and I had met Dally at the corner of Pickett and Sutton. Maybe it was. Maybe Johnny had been gone a whole week and I had just slept. Maybe he'd already been worked over by the fuzz and was waiting to get the electric chair since he wouldn't tell me where I was. Maybe Dally had been killed in a car wreck or something, and no one would ever know where I was, and I just die up here alone and turn into a skeleton. Oh, quick timeout. This has happened to be crazy timing. You might know this, but I have a 7th grade daughter who's rather strange. And about 10 minutes ago, she just walked into my room and put this on my desk. It's a random skeleton that my daughter just happens to keep in her room because what 7th grader doesn't keep a random skeleton in her room? And so we're reading that part, and I just happened to get to the part where he's going to turn into a skeleton, and it seems slightly frightening that my daughter put a skeleton on my desk. So there's a skeleton. No idea why she did that. 7th graders are weird. My overactive imagination was running away with me again. Sweat ran down my face and back, and I was trembling. My head swam, and I leaned back and closed my eyes. I guess it was partly delayed shock. Finally, my stomach calmed down, and I relaxed a little, hoping that Johnny would remember cigarettes. I was scared, sitting there by myself. I heard someone coming up with the dead leaves toward the back of the church, and I ducked inside the door. Then I heard a whistle, long and low, ending in a sudden high note. Something like that. I knew that whistle well enough. It was used by us and the Shepherd gang for Who's There. I returned it. By the way, this is one of the good things about Zoom, because every time we get to this part in the book normally in class, I've got like 8 kids who then start trying to replicate that whistle while I'm trying to read. And they're all sounding like a wee, woo, wee, and it sounds like a bunch of like sirens going by. Now, you can whistle all you want to irritate your parents, and it's not going to bother me. This is one of the only things I like about Zoom. Anyway, I returned it carefully, then darted out the door so fast that I fell off the steps and sprawled flat under Johnny's nose. I propped myself on my elbow and grinned up at him. Hey, Johnny, fancy meeting you here. He looked down at me over a big package. I swear, pony boy, you're getting to act more like 2-bit every day. I tried unsuccessfully to cock an eyebrow. Again, the eyebrow cocking is with the one eyebrow, and it goes like that. That's the cocking of an eyebrow. I'm not yet. I see you all cocking eyebrows at me. I can't do it very well. With a stapler, I can staple it up there, but it's kind of permanent. I'm not willing to commit to it. I tried unsuccessfully to cock an eyebrow. Who's acting? I rolled over and sprang up, happy that someone was there. What'd you get? Come on inside. Dally told us to stay inside. We went in, and Johnny dusted off the table with his jacket and started taking things out of the sack and lining them up neatly. A week's supply of bologna, 2 loaves of bread. I got a box of matches, Johnny went on. I got tired of watching him do it all, so I started digging into the sack myself. Whee! I sat down on a dusty chair and stared. A paperback copy of Gone with the Wind? How'd you know I always wanted one? All right, so from church, this is what Gone with the Wind is. It's a book from a long time ago. I got turned into a movie. It's super long. I've not even read it, kind of long. And it's about the Civil War and the fighting between the North and the South. It's all about killing and fighting, but there's also a love story and stuff like that. All right. How'd you know I always wanted one? Johnny reddened. I remembered you saying something about it once, and me and you went to see that movie, remember? And I thought you could maybe read it out loud and help kill time or something. There we go. One second. Got to do a thing. To there. And there we go. And there. There. Ah, I apologize. Sorry, I had just seen a comment on the chat, so I had to remove a kid. Kill time or something. Gee, thanks. I put the book down reluctantly. I wanted to start it right then. Peroxide, a deck of cards. Suddenly I realized something. Johnny, you ain't thinking of. Johnny sat down and pulled out his knife. We're going to cut our hair, and you're going to bleach yours. He looked at the ground carefully. They'll have our descriptions in the paper. We can't fit them. If you don't know what hydrogen peroxide is, this is what hydrogen peroxide is. It's the stuff that, quick timeout. So hydrogen peroxide looks like it's in this little brown bottle. You'll probably recognize it from your parents. Whenever like you fall and like skin your knee, they would pour like into the cap and they pour it on like onto your skin like a scab, and it bubbles, like little bubbles come out of it. And you like sit there and you're like ah, and it would hurt really badly. The idea was it was thought to clean stuff. Turns out hydrogen peroxide doesn't actually clean any more than water does. You can Google it right now and go over and go, does hydrogen peroxide work better than water? It actually doesn't. And I found that out the hard way with my own children when they were wee kids. And I told them, hey, they like fell off their bike and they skinned their knee, and I was pouring hydrogen peroxide on there. My daughter was like screaming at me. And I was like, it's good for you. And she's like, no, it's not. I was like, let me prove it to you. So I'll Google it. So I Googled it, and the Google said, this is an old wives' tale. It does not work at all. It is the same thing as water. It only hurts children. And I was like, ruh-roh. So anytime that your parents pour that on you, they're only doing it because they hate you and they want to see you in pain. It does not actually help you whatsoever. But it also is a bleaching agent. You can put it in your hair, and it can turn your hair a lighter color. So people trying to get me to dye my hair a second ago, that's not going to work. But if you put hydrogen peroxide in your hair, it does turn your hair a lighter color. Now, it's not going to bleach it immediately. Like you have dark hair, you're not going to become an immediate blonde. But if you're a person that goes to the pool in the summertime and your hair naturally sort of like lightens from the chlorine in there, hydrogen peroxide would do the same thing. So it would take you from like a dark-haired person to a slightly lighter-haired person, something like this guy. That's Brad Pitt, in case you're unfamiliar with him. And so he was that same idea where he went from the dark to the light. That's their goal, because they're going to try and hide from the popos. So they're going to try and lighten their hair to make it harder for them to be found. So that's their goal. All right. We're going to cut our hair, and you're going to bleach yours. Sorry, time back to the book. He looked at the ground carefully. They'll have our descriptions in the paper. We can't fit them. Oh, no. My hand flew to my hair. No, Johnny, not my hair. It was my pride. It was long and silky, just like soda's, only a little redder. Our hair was tough. We didn't have to use much grease on it. Our hair labeled us greasers, too. It was hiccup. It was our trademark. The one thing we were proud of. Maybe we couldn't have Corvairs, Mustangs, and Madras shirts, but we could have hair. Come on. We'd have to anyway if we got caught. You know the first thing the judge does is make you get a haircut. I don't see why, I said sourly. Dally could just as easily mug somebody with short hair. I don't know either. It's just a way of trying to break us. They can't really do anything to guys like Curly Shepherd or Tim. They've had about everything done to them, and they can't take anything away from them because they don't have anything in the first place. So they cut their hair. I looked at Johnny imploringly. Johnny sighed. I'm going to cut mine too and wash the grease out, but I can't bleach it. I'm too dark-skinned to look okay blonde. Oh, come on, pony boy, it'll grow back. Okay, I sighed wide-eyed. Get it over with. Johnny flipped out the razor edge of his switchblade, took hold of my hair, and started sawing on it. I shuddered. Not too short, Johnny, please. Real quick again, time out. So Johnny's using his switchblade to cut Ponyboy's hair to make it shorter. If you think about it, what was the last thing they used the switchblade to do? Yeah, to stab Bob. So there's every chance that there might still be bits of Bob on this switchblade that he is now using to cut Ponyboy's hair. I realized that when I was reading this last time, and I was like, oh, the last time he used that blade was to, oh yeah, stab a child. And so, yeah, and now he's using it to cut hair. That's your disturbing image for a Wednesday. Time back in. Uh, Johnny flipped out the razor edge of a switch, took hold of my hair, started sawing on it. I shuddered. Not too short. Johnny, please. Finally, it was over with, and my hair looked funny, scattered over the floor in tufts. That's lighter than I thought it was, I said, examining it. Can I see what I look like now? No, Johnny said, slowly staring at me. We gotta bleach it first. After I'd sat in the sun for 15 minutes to dry the bleach, Johnny let me look in the old cracked mirror we'd found in a closet. I did a double take. My hair was even lighter than soda pops. I never combed it to the side like that. It just didn't look like me. It made me look younger, scareder too. Boy, howdy, I thought. This really makes me look tough. I look like a blasted pansy. Oh, that was miserable. Johnny handed me the knife. He looked scared, too. Cut the front, then out the rest, and I'll comb it back after I wash it. Johnny, I said tiredly, you can't wash your hair in that freezing water in this weather. You'll get a cold. He only shrugged. Go ahead and cut it. I did the best I could. He went ahead and washed it anyway, using the bar of soap he'd bought. And I was glad I'd had to run away with him instead of with Two-Bit or Steve or Dally. That'd be the one thing they'd never think of. Soap. I gave him Dally's jacket to wrap up in, and he sat shivering in the sunlight on the back steps, leaning against the door and combing his hair back. It was the first time I could see that he had eyebrows. He didn't look like Johnny. His forehead was wider where his bangs had been. It'd been funny if he hadn't been so scared. He was still shivering with cold. I guess, he said weakly. I guess we're disguised. I leaned back next to him sullenly. I guess so. Oh, another quick pause. Of the two of them, only Ponyboy colors his hair. Johnny does not color his hair. They both cut it and make it shorter, but Johnny can't make his hair lighter because, as he says, he has like Hispanic or Native American background to him, so he has darker skin. So Ponyboy, Lily White Boy, his hair can go white and he'll be absolutely fine. Johnny, not so much. He's got like a darker complexion to him, has some kind of background. So for him, he's like, if I do that with my hair, I'm going to stand out and look weird. So that's why Johnny only cuts his hair and Ponyboy cuts and colors it. So things that pop up later on. I leaned back next to him sullenly. I guess so. We're on page 73 on the right-hand side. Ah, shoot, Johnny said with fake cheerfulness. It's just hair. Shoot nothing. Second, I'm seeing if I have to be mean to people. Sorry you're bored. I wish the quarantine was over. I do too. Make good choices, random babbly people. No, yeah, I wish I was playing in band also. It'd be more fun. Shoot nothing, I snapped. It took me a long time to get that hair just the way I wanted it. And besides, this just ain't us. It's like being in a Halloween costume we can't get out of. Well, we got to get used to it, Johnny said with finality. We're in big trouble, and it's our looks or us. I started eating a candy bar. I'm still tired, I said. To my surprise, the ground blurred, and I felt tears running down my cheeks. I brushed them off hurriedly. Johnny looked as miserable as I felt. Thanks, Brian. I'm sorry I cut your hair off, Ponyboy. No, it ain't that, I said between bites of chocolate. I mean, not all of it. I'm just a little spooky. I really don't know what's the matter. I'm just mixed up. I know, Johnny said through chattering teeth as we went inside. Things have been happening so fast. I put my arm across his shoulders to warm him up. Two-Bit should have been in that little one-horse store, man. We're in the middle of nowhere. The nearest house is 2 miles away. Things were laying out wide open, just waiting for somebody slick like Two-Bit to come and pick him up. He could have walked out with half the store. He leaned back beside me, and I could feel him trembling. Good old Two-Bit, he said in a quavering voice. He must have been as homesick as I was. Remember how he was wisecracking last night? I said. Last night. Just last night, we were walking Cherry and Marcia over to Two-Bit's. I mean, just last night, we were laying in the lot, looking up at the stars and dreaming. Stop it! Johnny gasped. Sorry. Stop it! Johnny gasped between clenched teeth. Shut up about last night. I killed a kid last night. He Could have been over 17 or 18. I killed him. How'd you like to live with that? He was crying. I held him like Soda had held him that day we found him lying in the lot. I didn't mean to, he finally blurted out. But they were drowning you, and I was so scared. He was quiet for a minute. There sure is a lot of blood in people. He got up suddenly and began pacing back and forth, slapping his pockets. What are we going to do? I was crying by then. I was getting dark. It was getting dark, and I was cold and lonesome. I closed my eyes and leaned my head back, but the tears came anyway. This is my fault, Johnny said in a miserable voice. He'd stopped crying when I had started. For bringing a little 13-year-old kid along. You ought to go home. You can't get in any trouble. I mean, you didn't kill him. No, I screamed at him. I'm 14. I've been 14 for a month, and I'm in as much as you are. I'll stop crying in a minute. I can't help it. He slumped down beside me. I didn't mean it like that, Pony Boy. Don't cry. Pony Boy will be okay. Don't cry. I leaned against him and bawled until I went to sleep. I woke up late that night, and Johnny was resting against the wall. I was asleep on his shoulder. Johnny? I yawned. You awake? I was warm and sleepy. Oh, Pearls? I apologize. You just popped your hand up. What's up, Pearlington?
So I was watching TikToks and I forgot what page we're on.
I appreciate your honesty. We're on page, stop watching TikToks while Mr. Broviak is reading with his wonderful voice, 75.
Oh, 75. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me make fun of you. That was good teamwork. Wait, were they my TikToks?
There were lunch videos. This one mom making lunch for her kids. It's very interesting.
All right, I'm going to judge you now. All right, page 75. I woke up late that night. Johnny was resting against the wall and was asleep on his shoulder. I was asleep on his shoulder. Johnny, you awake? I was warm and sleepy. Yeah, he said quietly.
I need Jim's papers for the online thing that you guys have been doing for Debbie.
I believe here. There's some like future ones or ones she's already done.
One she's already done.
I think that's them.
Okay.
And I think these are the future ones in here.
Okay.
All right.
I see the ones that she's done.
I think those are those. All right.
Sorry.
Not a problem. Time back in. We ain't gonna cry no more, are we? No, we're all cried out now. We're getting used to the idea. We're gonna be okay now. That's what I thought, I said drowsily. Then for the first time since Dally and I'd sat down behind those girls at the nightly double, I relaxed. We could take whatever was coming now. Back to this book. For the next 4 or 5 days were the longest days I've ever spent in my life. We killed time by reading Gone with the Wind and playing poker. Johnny sure did like that book, although he didn't know anything about the Civil War and even less about plantations, and I had to explain a lot of it to him. It amazed me how Johnny could get more meaning out of some of the stuff in there than I could. I was supposed to be the deep one. Johnny had failed a year in school and never made good grades. He couldn't grasp anything that was shoved at him too fast, and I guess his teachers just thought he was just plain dumb. But he wasn't. He was just a little slow to get things, and he liked to explore things once he did get them. He was especially stuck on the Southern gentlemen, impressed with their manners and charm. I bet they were cool old guys, he said, his eyes glowing, after I'd read the part about them riding into sure death because they were gallant. They remind me of Dally. Dally, I said, startled. Shoot, he ain't got any more manners than I do. And you saw how he treated those girls the other night. Soda's more like them Southern boys. Yeah, in the manners bit, and the charm too, I guess, Johnny said slowly. But one night I saw Dally getting picked up by the fuzz. If you don't know what fuzz would be, if you're not up on your slang, the Socrative code for today is, I don't know, something. I have to go back and look. I don't have it memorized. Sorry. That was a question on chat. The fuzz is a name for the popos, the police and stuff like that. And so they were talking about the time that he got picked up by the fuzz and the popos. got picked up by the fuzz, and he kept real cool and calm the whole time. They was getting him for breaking out the windows in the school building, and it was Two-Bit who'd actually did it. And Dally knew it, but he just took that sentence without batting an eye or even denying it. Now that's gallant. That was the first time I realized the extent of Johnny's hero worship for Dally Winston. Of all of us, Dally was the one I liked least. He didn't have Soda's understanding, or Dab's, or Two-Bit's humor, or even Derry's Superman qualities. But I realized that these three appealed to me because they were like the heroes in the novels I read. Dally was real. I liked my books and clouds and sunsets. Dally was so real, he scared me. Thanks, Kaylee. I forgot what it actually was called. Appreciate it. Johnny and I never went to the front of the church. You could see it from the road. See, front of the church. There you go, back to the church. You could see it from the road, and sometimes farm kids rode their horses by on their way to the store. So we stayed in the way very back, usually sitting on the steps and looking across the valley. We could see for miles, see the ribbon of highway and the small dots that were houses and cars. We couldn't watch the sunset since the back faced east, but I loved to look at the colors of the fields and the soft shadings of the horizon. One morning, I woke up earlier than usual. Johnny and I slept huddled together for warmth. Johnny had been right when he said it would get cold where we were going. Being careful not to wake Johnny up, I went to sit on the steps and smoke a cigarette. The dawn was coming up then. For those of you who have never woken up prior to, say, 9:30 in the morning, this is what a sunrise looks like when the sun comes up over the thing. It's supposed to look all beautiful. So for those of you who've never seen one, this is a sunrise. The dawn was coming then. All the lower valley was covered with mist, and sometimes little pieces of it broke off and floated away in small clouds. The sky was lighter in the east, and the horizon was a thin golden line. The clouds changed from gray to pink, and the mist was touched with gold. There was a silent moment when everything held its breath, and then the sun rose. It was beautiful. Golly, Johnny's voice broke beside me and made me jump. That sure was pretty. Yeah, I sighed, wishing I had some paint to do a picture with while the sight was still fresh in my mind. I mean, the mist was what was pretty, Johnny said. It was all gold and silver. Oh, I said, trying to blow a smoke ring. It's too bad it couldn't stay like that all the time. Well, nothing gold can stay. I was remembering a poem I'd read once. What? No, hang on. Jump from here. What? No. What? There we go. Jump to there. This thing. Nature's first green is gold. Her heart is hue to hold. Her early leaves a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down to day. Nothing gold can stay. Johnny was staring at me. Where'd you learn that? That's what I meant. Robert Frost wrote it. That's a famous poet from a long time ago. He meant more to it than I'm getting, though. I was trying to find the meaning the poet had in mind, but it eluded me. I always remembered it because I never quite got what he meant by it. Real quick with this poem, because it's going to play a big role. They're going to keep referring back to this. Anytime you see a meme connected to this, and you're going to see a lot of memes connected to The Outsiders, they're going to refer back to this poem, which says, nature's first green is gold, her heart is hue to hold, her early leaves a flower, but only so an hour. The leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sink to grief, so dawn goes down to day, nothing gold can stay. Again, this is where I don't like Zoom. We get to have a good conversation, get to go back and forth, because part of my question would be, do you guys know what Eden is referring to? For those of you who thought when they were in the church earlier and they thought that JC was Jesus Christ, you should know what Eden is, because Eden is a biblical reference. That Adam and Eve one, that's the whole thing referring to. So the fact that Eden starts off, the Garden of Eden starts off wonderful and then falls apart because of the snake and evil. The leaves of flower only so an hour. Basically every spring, everything is beautiful, and then it dies. The whole poem is both really depressing and uplifting. The poem is basically telling you everything that you love, everything that you cherish is going to die and go away. So you like school, is going to go away. You like a favorite teacher, you're not going to have them forever. You like being a kid, it's eventually going to disappear. Everything that you enjoy in life is eventually going to leave you, which is depressing. But the poem is trying to say the opposite. Because all of those favorite things are going to disappear, enjoy them while you have them. While you have this friend in your life, enjoy it. While you have the teacher you like, enjoy it. while you're a kid, enjoy it, because eventually those things are going to disappear. So the idea here is nothing gold can stay means your innocence, your happiness, the things you enjoy in life are eventually going to disappear. So that's what this whole poem is trying to tell you. And they're going to keep referring back to this throughout the whole book from here on out about the idea of what is your gold and can your gold stay and find your gold. And that gold meaning your happiness and stuff like that. Elena, what's up?
So I might or might not have gotten distracted while drawing. What page are we on?
I see that being a common theme. We are on the top of page 78.
Thank you.
Welcome. At least it wasn't TikToks. Perlin. And Elijah, what's up with you?
I just wanted to say that they were talking about the Garden of Eden.
Correct. Well done to go you. Yeah, this is where, once again, I wish we'd be having an actual conversation back and forth, or making fun of the kid who's currently on her phone while I'm trying to do the teaching and stuff like that. It's not like I had to take her phone during class at one point or something like that. So that would just be awful. Shade being thrown. Yeah, I see the look you're giving me right now. Let's see. What page are we on? Again, page 78. Glad we didn't hit my dog. All right, we're good to go. You know, Johnny said slowly, I never noticed colors and clouds and stuff until you kept reminding me about them. It seems like they were never there before. He thought for a minute. Huh, your family sure is funny. What happens to be so funny about it? I asked stiffly. Johnny looked at me quickly. I didn't mean nothing. I meant, well, Soda kind of looks like your mother did, but he acts just exactly like your father. And Derry is the spitting image of your father. But he ain't wild and laughing all the time like he was. He acts like your mother, and you don't act like either one. I know, I said. Well, I said, thinking this over, you ain't like any of the gang. I mean, I couldn't tell Two-Bit or Steve or even Derry about the sunrise and clouds and stuff. I couldn't even remember that poem around them. I mean, they just don't dig. Just you and Soda Pop and maybe Cherry Valance. Johnny shrugged. Yeah, he said with a sigh. I guess we're different. Shoot, I said, blowing a perfect smoke ring. Maybe they are. Hang on a second. There we go. By the 5th day, I was so tired of bologna. I nearly got sick every time I looked at it. We'd eaten all of our candy bars in the first 2 days. I was dying for a Pepsi. I'm what you might call a Pepsi addict. I drink them like a fiend, and going for 5 days without one was about to kill me. This was before Mountain Dew was invented. If not, I'm sure he would have been a Mountain Dew addict, but back then Mountain Dew wasn't really a thing yet. Johnny promised to get some if we ran out of supplies and had to go get some more, but that didn't help me right then. I was also smoking a lot more than I usually did, I guess because it was something to do, although Johnny warned me that I would get sick smoking so much. We were careful with our cigarettes. If that old church ever caught fire, there'd be no stopping it. On the 5th day, I had read up to Sherman's siege of Atlanta and Gone with the Wind, owed Johnny $150 from poker games, smoked 2 packs of Camels, and, as Johnny had predicted, got sick. I hadn't eaten anything all day, and smoking on an empty stomach doesn't make you feel real great. I curled up in a corner to sleep off the smoke. I was just about asleep when I heard, as if from a great distance, a long, low whistle that went off in a sudden high note, the same one from before, the whole something like that. I was too sleepy to pay any attention, although Johnny didn't have any reason to be whistling like that. He was sitting on the back steps trying to read Gone with the Wind. I had almost decided that I dreamed the outside world and there was nothing real but bologna sandwiches and the Civil War and the old church and the mist in the valley. It seemed to me that I had always lived in the church, or maybe lived during the Civil War and had somehow gotten transplanted. That shows you what a wild imagination I have. Quick time out. I absolutely know how he feels to be going insane right now. That whole, like, it feels like nothing changes. You're doing the same thing over and over again, eating the same thing over and over again, like oatmeal for breakfast. And that's sort of how I feel right now. How I feel right now with the whole quarantine and lockdown. And so I feel for him and how it's going and stuff like that. And yes, Pearl, I agree. Diet Mountain Dew is the best. That's what I've been drinking every day. Probably not good for my teeth, but it is delicious. But anyway, stop distracting me, horrible child. Keep eating your oatmeal. A toe nudged me in the ribs. Glory, said a rough but familiar voice. He looks different with his hair like that. I rolled, hang on, go back to the church. Church. There we go. I rolled over and sat up, blinking and rubbing the sleep out of my eyes and yawning. Suddenly I blinked. Hey, Dally! Hey, pony boy. He grinned down at me. Or should I say, sleeping beauty? I never thought I'd live to see the day when I would be so glad to see Dally Winston. But right then, he meant one thing, contact with the outside world. And it suddenly became real and vital. Again, hashtag quarantine. They feel the exact same way. If someone randomly showed up at my house like that, I'd also be excited to suddenly see Dally on my front door. To be like, oh my God, it's a human. And I'd probably hug Dally and then get stabbed. But still, it'd be exciting to be stabbed for a moment. Time back in. For those of you not paying attention, page 80 before one of you tries to contact me. How's Soda Pop? Are the fuzz after us? Is Derry all right? Do the boys know where we are? What? Hold on, kid. Dally broke in. I can't answer everything at once. You two want to go get something to eat first? I skipped breakfast. I'm about starved. You're starved? Johnny was so indignant he nearly squeaked. I remembered the baloney. Is it safe to go out? I asked eagerly. Yup. Dally searched his shirt pocket for a cigarette and finding none said, Hey, you got a cancer stick, Johnny Cake? Johnny tossed him a whole package. Yeah, the fuzz won't be looking for you guys around here, Dally said, lighting up. They think you've lit out for Texas. I've got Buck's T-Bird parked down the road a little way. Gosh almighty, boys. Ain't you been eating anything? A T-Bird, another type of fancy car. T-Bird, there you go. This is the T-Bird that he brings up. Buck was the guy who was throwing the party when they went to go find Dally, who was the older guy. They went by and they bossed around, stuff like that. That's Buck, who's Dally's friend. And so this is his T-Bird or Thunderbird that he ends up borrowing. There you go. Johnny looked startled. Yeah, whatever gave you the idea we ain't been eating? Dally shook his head. You're both pale and you've lost weight. After this, get out in the sun more. Quarantine. You look like you've been through the mill. I started to say, look who's talking, but decided to be safer not to. Dally needed a shave. A stubble of colorless beard covered his jaw, and he looked like he was the one who'd been sleeping in his clothes for a week instead of us. I knew he hadn't seen a barber in months. This is hitting really close to home, by the way. Hey, pony boy. He fumbled with a piece of paper in his back pocket. I got a letter for you. A letter? Who from? The president, of course. Stupid. It's from Soda. Soda Pop, I said, bewildered. But how did he know? He came over to Buck's a couple of days ago for something, and he found that sweatshirt. I told him I didn't know where you were, but he didn't believe me. He gave me this letter and half his paycheck to give to you. Kid, you ought to see Derry. He's taking this mighty hard. I wasn't listening. I leaned back against the side of the church and then read, Pony boy. Well, I guess you got into some trouble, huh? Derry and me nearly went nuts when you ran out like that. Derry is awful sorry he hit you. You know he didn't mean it. And then you and Johnny turned up missing. And what with that dead kid in the park and Dally getting hauled into the station? Well, it scared us something awful. The police came by to question us, and we told them as much as we could. And I can't believe little old Johnny could kill somebody. I know Dally knows where you are, but you know him. He keeps his trap shut and won't tell me nothing. Derry hasn't gotten the slightest notion, where you're at, and is nearly killed. Hiccup. And is nearly killing him. Now I wish you'd come back and turn yourselves in, but I guess you can't since Johnny might get hurt. You sure are famous. You got a paragraph in the newspaper even. Take care. Say hi to Johnny for us. Soda Pop Curtis. He could definitely improve his spelling. I thought after reading it through 3 or 4 times. How come you got hauled in? I asked Dally. Shoot, kid, he grinned wolfishly. Them boys at the station know me by now. I get hauled in for everything that happens in our turf. While I was there, I kind of let it slip that y'all were heading for Texas. So that's where they're currently looking. He took a drag on his cigarette and cussed it good-naturedly for not being a cool. Once again, a cool was the type of cigarette that he stole earlier from that one store. It's also code for stop looking at your phone while you're on the video with the other person next to you. Okay. Just making sure I wasn't trying to harass you too much. Okay, you got safe this time. Right there, just see that. All right, haven't got to harass you in a while. All right. So distracted me, making fun of kids. All right. Johnny listened in admiration. Sorry, one of my favorite lines in the book. You sure can cuss good, Dally. Something you should all say to someone who's hear someone really cuss would be like, oh, you sure can cuss good. I sure can, Dally agreed wholeheartedly, proud of his vocabulary. But don't you kids get to picking up my bad habits. He gave me a hard rub on the head. Kid, I swear it don't look like you with your hair all cut off. You used to look tough. You and Soda had the coolest looking hair in town. I know, I said sourly. I look lousy. Don't rub it in. Y'all want something to eat or not? Johnny and I leaped up. You better believe it. Gee, Johnny said wistfully, it sure will be good to get into a car again. Again, this is hitting really hard because I feel the exact same way. To go out and get in a car and drive somewhere, oh man, it'd be a dream come true. Go to a restaurant and sit down, this is starting to hurt. Well, Dally drawled, I'll give you a ride for your money. Like the good, I skipped a page. Dally always did like to drive fast, as if he didn't care whether he got where he was going or not. And we came down that red dirt road off J Mountain doing 85. Now, I like fast driving, and Johnny was crazy about drag races, but we both got a little green around the gills when Dally took a corner on two wheels with the brakes screaming. Maybe it was because we hadn't been in a car for so long. We stopped at a Dairy Queen, and the first thing I got was a Pepsi. Johnny and I gorged on barbecue sandwiches and banana splits. Glory, Dallas said, amazed, watching us gulp the stuff down. You don't need to make like every mouthful's your last. I got plenty of money. Take it easy. I don't want you getting sick on me. I thought I was hungry. Johnny merely ate faster. I didn't slow down until I got a headache. Oh, I didn't tell you something, Dally said, finishing his third hamburger. The socialists and us are having all-out warfare all over the city. That kid you killed had plenty of friends, and all over town, it's Soch against Greece. We can't walk alone at all. I started carrying a heater. If you don't know what a heater is, again, this is where I wish we'd be talking together. So instead of showing a picture, you guys, let's do this. If you know what a heater is, you can make it with a hand sign. I'm looking for hand signs. Nicely. By the way, this is not a heater, by the way, for those of you who are trying to look adorable. That's a whole different thing. This is a heater. This is I am shy and adorable while I spin sideways. This is a heater. Looks like that. So that's what the heater is. So now he's carrying the heater with him. Or maybe that's what this is supposed to mean. I'm carrying two heaters and I'm going to shoot a gun, and that's what they're trying to do, and that's why they're shy. This is Johnny. That's what it's trying to reference. It's an outsider's thing this entire time. Who knew? Mind blown. Sorry. We kill people. Dally, I said, frightened. You kill people with heaters. Yeah, and you kill them with switchblades too, don't you, kid? Dally said in a hard voice, and Johnny gulped. Don't worry, Dally went on. It ain't loaded. I ain't aiming to get picked up for murder, but it sure does help a bluff. Hang on one second, Kaylee. I'll call on you. Tim Shepard's gang and our outfit are having it out with the socialists tomorrow night at the vacant lot. We got hold of the president of one of their social clubs and had a war council. Yeah, Dally sighed, and I knew he was remembering New York, just like the good old days. If they win, things go on as usual. If we do, they stay out of our territory, but good. Two-Bit got jumped a few days ago. Darian came along in time, but he wasn't having too much trouble. Two-Bit's a good fighter. Oh, hey, I didn't tell you. We got us a spy. A spy? Johnny looked up from his banana split. Who? That good-looking broad I tried to pick up the night you killed the Soch. The redhead. Cherry, what's her name? And that's where we're going to stop. That's the end of chapter 5. We're going to find out that now Cherry is now spying for them, but that's not the big thing. Chapter 6 has a huge thing that's going to happen that we're going to get to in a moment. All right, now back to Kaylee. Wait, you're wearing a different shirt than you were before. That threw me off. Yes, dear.
Yeah, I'm leaving soon to go see Grandma.
To go do what?
Grandma.
Oh, because you got the thing I sent.
Yeah, we have like a big one, and you can't send over text. But I was gonna do like the statement thing. Have you seen Outer Banks on Netflix?
I have not. But
Okay. Well, you should watch it because it's kind of like Outsiders. Like they had it's not like it, but there's like different episodes, and a part of one episode they were talking about how like there's different like groups. There's 2 different groups, and they were like fighting back and forth or whatever.
Cool. I will go take a look at that then. Nifty. Well, say hi to Grandma. Have a good time.
Okay.
Yep. Into there. Tomorrow, let's see, Coca-Cola, Mountain Dew, silly children, Coke, and Pepsi. Anyway, back to here. I told you I would show you guys the thing again. Here is our thing again for today, WED 429 for today's room thing. But now that you know a bit more about Johnny and Ponyboy, you're going to pick one of them. Tell me which one you think you would want to be friends with or not friends with, depending on what their issues may be. And that is your answer for today. Tomorrow, I'm going to pick up with chapter 6 because we have a huge thing that's going to be happening in chapter 6. Elijah, I'm assuming you want to say goodbye to me. What's up, Elijah?
Yeah, I wanted to say goodbye. And there is a movie that I've seen. It is very, very similar to this. I don't remember the name of it, but I remember they had to go they had to go away because a kid killed another kid. And I remember the movie theater and the 2 girls and stuff. It's very, very similar to this.
Because they did make this into a movie with a bunch that has like Tom Cruise and Rob Lowe. It's like a whole bunch of famous people in it. So you may have seen the movie that's connected to this one.
Okay.
So,
if I find the movie, I'll tell you about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Toots. All right. I believe that's all I have for you guys for today. Once again, make sure you want us to credit to your answering thing. Tomorrow, we're going to be reading chapter 6. Enjoy yourself. Those of you who can now go back to watching your TikTok videos and eating your oatmeal and random stuff like that I'm seeing in the background, and entertaining things from there for me having to harass random people, or playing with your loot llamas or your loot puppy, depending on which particular screen I might be looking at the different times, or just your loot yawning, and that's adorable also. I'm not sure what Braden's doing. He's apparently beating up his pillow. I wish you the best of luck letting out your frustration. Girl laying on her floor next to a dresser wearing PJs.
That's me, right?
Yes, that would be you, Pearls.
Do you have any updates on anything?
No. I was hoping to find out today because Dr. Thorpe had a meeting yesterday, and she said that she was going to let us know today anything she found out from that meeting. And as of me starting this, she has not sent anything out. So I am hoping that at some point she'll let me know and I'll find out. And once I do, I'll be more than happy to tell you guys. That's not a question here.
Are you still gonna do the running thing?
Once again, once I find out, I want to, so that's my goal. So as long as I'm allowed to, then yes.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it.
Good luck with your tummy and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Braden, before you die from that random thing that's attacking you, I'm assuming, wait, not that kid, there you go. I'm assuming there's someone else in the room that is violently attacking you, either that or
It's my sister. She's violently attacking me.
Oh my goodness, there's another one of you on there. I wish you the best of luck with that. Never mind, you're gone.
I'm gonna die.
Well, I mean, at least it's on video. Elena! Where are you, Elena? Elena. There you are. Oh,
Hang on, my headphone fell out.
I
I just wanted to say bye.
There's our kitty cat.
and look at that Theobald with her puppy dog.
Hi, the evolved with the puppy dog.
And there's Riley with the stuffed animal.
Oh, nice.
And just Pearls, who ran cross country. You had to write her name down because she did cross country. That was Perez was her last name.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Perez.
So you know Perez also on that one. So,
Yeah.
And this girl does TikToks the entire time I'm doing it up there. I was watching Leah do TikTok dances, which is mildly distracting whenever I'm trying to read and I see a person jumping around up there. But to each their own. And I'm watching him kicking his sister in the head.
Nice.
I know. Legally binding on this one. All right. Oh, we got to use this in the video.
You did?
He did, because he talks about wasting away and becoming a skeleton. I picked this up and I put it on the screen, so I gave you credit
good.
for
So
it.
then it's not on my nightstand
Yeah,
anymore?
so the random creepy thing actually had like a reason.
It has a name.
I'm sorry, what? Hang on. It's Ralph.
Yeah.
I remember your skeleton's name is Ralph, so yay.
Look at you being a good father.
Kiana, did you just now get on at the very end?
Yeah.
Yes, she did. Oh, Kiana. All right, and then you're being creepy. You're being creepy.
You're creepy.
All right. All right. See you guys tomorrow for chapter 6. Hopefully some of you guys are still alive. Brayden, I send you hearts and love. I wish you luck with that younger sister. Everyone knows younger sisters are the worst. Good luck, Kiana.